Hello and good morning. I, Soumya Pandey, on behalf of the Alumni Affairs Committee, am happy to welcome our esteemed alumnus, Mr. Zeeshan Khan, from the third batch of HNLU. Sir graduated in the year 2009. His honor subjects were IPR and corporate law. Sir worked in Zeus IP Advocates for a period of 10 months between January 2010 to October 2010. Then, Sir has been working in Rahul, Chaudhry and Partners from November 2010 to present. In August 2021, Sir was promoted as partner in the IP enforcement at Rahul Chaudhry and Partners. Sir, we are very happy and glad to have you over here. Welcome to the podcast. This is the third episode of the HAC podcast, that is HNLU Alumni Connect podcast series.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be a part of any program connected to the university. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, first of all, I would like to start with asking about the experience that you had with the university. How was your experience here for 5 years? And do you have any specific moments that you would like to share with us from the university per se?
In every student's career, I would say in every professional's life journey, those 5 years of law school obviously holds a very special value. And the same is in my case as well. Being a part of this prestigious university, especially during the formative years, being a part of the third batch when the university was as a nation stage, we were very lucky to have some fabulous faculties. The faculties which were sought after across the country, we had those faculties. The campus obviously was not as brilliant as it is today, but that was a blessing in disguise because it was a smaller campus, small number of people. Third batch means we hardly had 150, 200 people in the entire university. The complete faculty focus was on those 150, 200 students. And it was amazing. I mean, we were in the center of the city. Everything was at Penny's Drive. So it was very good. The experience that we have from that campus today is to, how to utilize those smaller spaces. Though we didn't had a lot of space in the university, but we were a very happy bunch of students back then. The friendships that we made in that small campus and the makeshift hostels that were provided by the university because of the lack of infrastructure back then, that is something that we are going to cherish for the rest of our lives.
Sir, do you think what part of your skills were shaped by HNLU? Do you think a very crucial part of it was played by the university, by the faculties? And what part is self-development part? How much does a student is supposed to work on himself? And what part is played by the university as per you?
Look, when I joined the university, as everyone joins, I was a fresh 12th standard pass out, very new to the legal industry. I am a first generation lawyer in my family, so I did not even had any legal background. Someone who could have guided me in this profession, or even gave me some insights about legal studies. But the moment I joined the university, fortunately, we actually had some of the best faculties associated with the university back then, and we're very fortunate that some of them are still in touch. The current registrar of the university, Professor Uday Shankar, was one of our founding faculties in the university, and he taught us in the very first semester. In fact, Uday sir was a hostel warden as well. So we actually ended up building a very good bond with sir back then, and that has continued. Faculties, of course, faculties in the university play a very crucial role, I believe. You need to be very focused in the classes, because what is being taught in the class is actually going to help you in the long run. But at the same time, it's not only the university or the faculty that can do everything. You will, of course, as a law student, you will have to keep evolving, keep reading. It's a subject where you have to keep yourself updated with every new development. So keep reading case laws, keep reading articles. Today is a day. Now is a time when we have a lot of good technologies, a lot of websites, content available on the internet, books available by very good renowned authors. So I would suggest, in addition to being a part of such a prestigious university and being taught by such good faculties, a student, of course, has to keep reading, keep evolving, and keep himself evolve in this. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sir, what pursued you or what motivated you early in your career to choose IPR?
That's a very interesting story, Soumya. So when I started, as I told you, I didn't had a godfather in the legal fraternity. So everything that I gained is from HNLU. Uh, when a student starts in the first year, he hardly has any idea about what kind of specialization or what kind of subjects he would want to practice in future. We had a professor called Professor V.K. Chaudhry. He's not teaching in the university now. I think he got transferred to some other university. He was teaching us intellectual property rights, I believe, in my second or third year. He started with a subject on trademarks. And I remember I used to, after the classes, the normal an hour lecture that he used to take during the day, I used to have very long discussions with Professor Chaudhry back then. I used to seek for his time. Whenever he's free sitting in his chamber, I would go and visit him. I would discuss the subject, discuss the trademark. The idea of protecting brands that used to fascinate me by back then. He introduced me to some of the very good books on IP, and he advised me that if you're really interested in this subject, go and intern with some of good IP firms and get an idea as to if this is the subject you're really interested in. So it was then, I think it was around second year, end of second year, starting of third year of my law school, that I decided to intern with few of the IP firms. And from then on, I only interned with IP firms. When it came to the fourth year, when we had to opt for our own honor subject, obviously it was an obvious choice for me. I opted for IP as my first honor subject, and then it's all a journey in IP.
Great to know, sir. Sir, how difficult is it for a first generation lawyer to establish himself in this field? Because of the nepotism that we see, because of the favoritism that we see, how difficult is it for us, the first generation lawyers?
So yeah, I don't think there's any difference. If you're a first generation lawyer or you're third or fourth generation lawyer, everyone has to go through the same drills. If you're working hard, you have good command of the subject, and if you're getting orders for your clients from the court, the world is bound to notice you. So even if you are a first generation lawyer, obviously the formative years would be difficult because you would not have a godfather in the industry, and you'll have to prove yourself. But I think that's a blessing in disguise, because if you do not have anyone to back you in your formative years, there is no second option. There is no going back from that point. So you will have to give your blood and soul to the profession. When I started, as I told you, I'm a first generation lawyer. I didn't have anyone in the legal fraternity to back me back then. So, and I knew that there's no going back from this point. This is the only thing I can do in my career now. So I had to work very hard, especially in the legal profession, when you have to every day prove yourself. Every new case is a new challenge. If you're not getting reliefs for your clients in matters, obviously the clients are going to get upset with you. But once you get in the flow, and once you establish yourself, the clients recognizes you, you're getting reliefs from the courts for your clients. It doesn't matter. I will give you an example. The firm I'm associated with, Rahul, Chaudhry and Partners, the managing partner of my firm, Mr. Rahul Chaudhry, is a first generation lawyer. And he's the managing partner of the firm, a well recognized and established IP lawyer of the country. So it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters a lot. Yes, in the formative years, you have to establish yourself. You have to prove yourself every single day. But for me, I think it's a blessing in disguise.
Yes, sir. Sir, how do you cope with all the pressure as a first generation lawyer? Like you just now said that there is a pressure to prove yourself every day. You are tested every single day. You have to seek relief for your client and you are judged. So how do you cope with all the pressure and the stress of this profession?
Uh, I think the legal profession in general is a very demanding profession. You have to put in a lot of working hours, but at the same time, you have to be very disciplined as far as work is concerned. I am a very strong believer of maintaining a good work-life balance. So, be punctual to your office. The pressure would, of course, be there, especially in the formative years. The pressure would, of course, be there. But if you cannot prove yourself in the initial years, those are the foundational years for me. I think those initial 4 or 5 years are going to be the foundation. So if you can take that pressure for the initial 4 or 5 years, absolve all that, keep learning, and absolving everything that you can from the judges, from the lawyers, from your seniors, from your colleagues. And it's a everyday affair. You have to keep learning. So absolving pressure is something that is a part of our profession. Even if you're not a first generation lawyer, you will still have to work hard. You will still have to go through the same procedure. You will still have to prepare for your cases and get relief. Even if you have a godfather in the industry, if you're not getting release from your clients, obviously it is going to impact.
Yes, sir. Sir, coming now to your formative years, what steps did you take in your formative years that you think proved crucial to this point in establishing you?
I used to start very early in the morning and used to give as much time as possible to the profession. In the initial years, when obviously I was a nascent in the subject, I used to read a lot. So as I got very good faculties, I was fortunate to get very good colleagues in the firms as well, GSIP and of course, the current firm. So I used to read a lot, and I was told by my senior back then, IP is a very niche subject, and the law keeps changing with every new judgment. I'll give you some examples at a later point of time in this interview. It's a evolving subject, so you have to keep yourself updated. Keep reading judgments. IP, there are a lot of IP publications, PTC, that publishes all patent and trademark cases of the country. So I used to read all those judgments, absolve, attend court hearings, not only appear in my matters, I also used to hear established lawyers back then to understand as to how they argue in the courts, how they prepare for their matters, what are the ingredients that they go through to argue their matters and present their arguments in the court. So I used to, see, absorb all this, read, and at the same time be disciplined, reach office on time, give as much time as possible, especially during the initial years.
Yes, sir. Sir, how crucial are internships for a specific area? For example, if I am in my third year currently and I, let's say, do not have a specific area that's in my mind that I have to pursue. So should I explore areas now or should I decide upon one specific area like you did for IP in your third year or at the end of your second year?
I think internships are very important, not only to decide your area of interest, but also to get a feeling as to how the industry works. How is it going to be once you get out of the university? And if for someone who has still not decided as to which subject you should be practicing after passing out, I would strongly suggest that go for internships because, you know, uh, getting in the profession is very different from reading those books in the university because you get to practically see as to how things work here. You will get an idea as to uh, what are the real implications of those studies in the actual practice. So internships are very important. If someone is confused as to what subject he should pursue, I would strongly suggest that individual to go for internships and try interning with all firms that are practicing in your in subjects of your interest. And that will definitely help you in deciding your future course of action for the practice.
Thank you, sir. Sir, how do you rate your experience as an IP lawyer? How is your experience different from, let's say, somebody who is practicing solely in fintech or in some other area? How is it different from other areas of law from the perspective of a practicing lawyer?
Look, I think every subject is as important as you think. It's all about your interest. Because today I have seen practicing advocates also specializing in various areas. IP, why I chose IP is I think it's very important for every single business to protect their IP. I would give you an example. For the Coca-Cola company, the brand Coca-Cola is the most important asset than all their bank balances, their offices across the world, and their people across the world. That just that brand Coca-Cola has more value than all their materialistic assets. That this is how important IP is. Now, suppose if someone starts using Coca-Cola, it will dilute their reputation. So IP for me is the most important area of any business. Let's take the example of Bisleri. For Bisleri, the trademark Bisleri and that green color bottle label that they use, that's the most important asset of their business. It's not a materialistic asset that you can see, but that brand holds such an important value that it will overshadow all their bank balances, the cost of their offices, and everything else. So IP for me is a very important subject, and I really enjoy protecting my clients' brands and practicing this area.
Sir, what has been your most rewarding experience as of now, particularly in IP? Any case
Look,
that you would like to discuss with us that you think was very rewarding for you, particularly?
look, for me, every order that I get, we enjoy those orders. Even yesterday, we were fortunate to protect one of our clients' brand and get an order from a court in Kerala. It was a US-based client, a trademark infringement suit, wherein we got a favorable order from the district court and the opposite side challenged it before the higher judiciary. We had to argue before fortunately these days the courts have allowed lawyers to appear virtually after the COVID. That's the only good thing that has come out of the COVID. So we could have argued the matter sitting in our daily offices before the Kerala courts. That was one of the matters that was really satisfactory to us because the opposite side was a local guy based in Kerala. He had been using that trademark from last 25 years. He, in fact, produced the documents in the court to convince the judge that he has been using the mark from last 25 years. We really had to work hard in that matter. But fortunately, we have got two favorable orders now, one from the lower judiciary and one from the higher judiciary. Probably the opposite side now will go to the Supreme Court, and we would be prepared for that. But these are the orders which give you the confidence, which give me the backing to work even harder for my clients, and we enjoy getting all these orders.
That's amazing, sir. Now, are there any specific issues in terms of recent developments that you are most looking forward to in terms of intellectual property rights in India and also globally?
Something which has recently affected our practice. You would be aware the government has abolished all the tribunals. There was a recent, there was a recent order passed by the government, an ordinance wherein the tribunals have been abolished. So one of the very important tribunals for us IP lawyers was IPAB, Intellectual Property Appellate Board. Now that has been abolished. The usual practice, I'll just give you a background. Whenever you file a trademark application, or you challenge someone else's registration by filing a rectification petition, it is usually filed before the registrar of trademarks. Then an order against the, then appeal against the order of the registrar of trademarks used to go before Intellectual Property Appellate Board. There were some logistic problems with the Intellectual Property Appellate Board. Appointments were not being made properly. They had logistical problems, office issues as well. So the matters kept delaying, kept pending. We kept awaiting hearings for years and years. Now the government has passed an ordinance abolishing IPAB, and the word IPAB in the Trademarks and Patent Act has now been substituted with High Court, which means all those files which were pending with the IPAB earlier, they will now go to the High Court. So every appeal against the order of the Registrar of Trademarks now would directly go to the respective High Court of the state. In Delhi, the Delhi High Court has now created a specific IP division, and they have also made IPD rules. That's called Intellectual Property Rights Division rules. Specific nomenclature has been made for IP matters in the Delhi High Court. Few judges of the Delhi High Court have been nominated by the Chief Justice as the judges of those IPD courts, which means there are few judges who are now exclusively dealing with IP matters in the Delhi High Court. So that's a very interesting development in our practice, because usually, we did not had specific IP courts in the high courts in India. But now, after these IPD rules that have come into effect, after the government has abolished IPAB, Delhi High Court has made IP courts. Judges have been nominated as IP judges. So now we have specific courts wherein the judges are hearing only the IP matters. And that's a very interesting development. Not only Delhi, Gujarat High Court has also come up with IP rules. I've recently read Madras High Court has also given direction to the Tamil Nadu government to frame IPD rules. So I hope in the near future, majority of the high courts will have specific and designated IP benches. And that's going to be very interesting, and that's going to be very good for the IP fraternity and for the brand owners in general, because I'm sure you will get quicker and faster reliefs from these courts.
That's really good, sir. Coming now to your firm, Rahul, Chaudhry and Partners, how does this firm work with businesses and individuals to develop intellectual property rights strategies that align with their overall business goals and objectives? This is one of the questions that a student has posted now.
Look, as a firm, we don't only give them legal opinion. We interact with them. We understand the business. I strongly suggest that an IP lawyer's advice should also match with the business strategies of the client. So, and you would have heard these days, all the major business houses have lawyers in their board meetings. The lawyers are members of the board of directors these days, because a legal opinion matters. Every decision that the businesses are taking, they have to factor in the legal point of view. How is it going to be? How is it going to be in the courts if someone challenges any product, any business of the any business decision? Then what are the legal implications? So we usually have long discussions with our clients. Whenever our clients come up with any new product, we suggest our clients to first discuss that with us. If you're going to launch a new product, you will have to name the product, which means you're going to use a trademark with the product. So we would suggest our clients that, before launching anything new, a good due diligence should be conducted to confirm that, of course, we are not going to infringe somebody else's right, and that the mark that we are going to adopt, that the business is going to adopt, will not have any bad legal implications in future. So we usually have very good discussions, long discussions, and help them understand the legal implications, as well as also understand the business decisions and the intent of making that decision by the businesses. So it's not only about arguing for your clients in the court. It's about understanding the business and understanding the reason as to why are they coming with those business decisions and helping them grow as a business.
Sir, do you think there are any misconceptions related to IPR as a field in law that students have, especially early on in their careers?
As far as the misconception is concerned, there is a good misconception in the Indian business fraternity. What I've seen is old business houses, they were not very aware of IP protection, usually I would say 20, 25 years back. And that's why the businesses usually do not keep good documentation and records. I have seen a lot of my clients who, though are a very large business house, but they, as far as IP protection is concerned, they were not very aware. So when I asked one of my clients as to why did you not register your trademark when you've been using it for last 25 years, and he's one of the known business houses in the country. So he told me, sir, I wasn't even aware that our mark has to be registered. And that's the problem with a lot of Indian business houses. But I think the situation is changing now. People are getting aware. More and more people are coming forward to protect their brands, register their marks. I have seen even small businesses, before launching any new product, before using any name for their product, they would come to us, seek our advice as to whether we can use it, whether we will not be infringing someone else's right, and whether using that particular name as a brand is allowed as per the Trademarks Act in the country or not. So challenges, of course, awareness is one thing that we still face. But as far as students are concerned, I think the students these days, I've seen students interning with the firm as well. Students are getting aware of the IP rights. Even the professors in the university are doing a very good job these days. So I don't think there's any issue with the students as far as IP is concerned.
Sir, what are some qualities of a successful IP practice? What do you think you inculcated that led you to become a successful IP lawyer?
You have to live, you have to eat and drink brands. All right. So it's not just practicing. You have to live in the way. I'll give you an example. People, I was working for one of our client who's an electronics known brand in the country. And, they were producing, what do you say, speakers for the cars. So we had a meeting with one of our clients and he said there is a large problem of counterfeiting of our speakers in the country. And we told them that you have to educate people. Educating people means come up with caution notices in the newspapers. Have meetings with your distributors. We in fact have attended training sessions for the officers of the enforcement agencies. Even for, I would give you an example, the Customs Department of India. They are responsible to stop import of counterfeit products in the country. So for one of our clients, we in fact had a very good presentation in the Delhi Customs House to educate them as to how the counterfeit products are being imported in the country and how can they help the brand as well as us to curb the import of those counterfeit products. So you have to keep an eye on everything. Keep reading. As an IP lawyer, I told you it's a very niche subject. Keep evolving. Every new judgment is going to affect your decision. In one of my matters, we suggested the client to take a particular action in the beginning of 2017. The client said, "All right, let's draft and file it. By the time we drafted, send the client for review, and when we received the finalized draft from the client for filing, the law had changed. The Supreme Court had come up with a new order, which had drastically changed the law, which means the earlier advice given by me to the client was now null and void. So we had to then again go back to the client, tell them, look, 10 days back, the Supreme Court has come up with a new order and now we have to change our advice. This is not the forum we will have to file your suit now. That's the new forum there where you have to go. Jurisdiction for that matter for IPR matters. You would be aware, the brand owners, that means the registered holders of the trademarks and copyright, have been given a special privilege under the Trademarks Act and the Copyright Act that they can file a infringement suit at the place of the plaintiff. Usually CPC says that you have to go at the place of the defendant or where the cause of action is arising. But Trademarks Act and the Copyright Act gives a special privilege to the brand owners to file the suit at the place of the plaintiff, which means if you're sitting in Delhi as a brand owner and the infringer is in Bombay, you do not have to travel all the way to Bombay to file the suit or where the cause of action is arising. You can file the suit at your place. That means Delhi. And the infringer then will have to travel to your place. But then there are a lot of ifs and buts that have now been added to this proposition by a lot of decisions of the court. And if you're not keeping yourself updated with those decisions and you simply go and file the suit based on that particular provision of the Trademarks Act, it is going to affect you. So you have to keep yourself updated, keep reading, especially IP. Keep reading because every new judgment is a new learning. Probably the law may be changed. So there's no substitute to keep reading and keeping yourself updated with the latest developments in this field.
Sir, like you said, IP is a very niche area and also a very evolving area. Coming now to technology and innovations, how do you think they would impact IP as a whole?
I think they're going to have a very good impact, a great impact, not only on the IP, the legal industry as a whole. As I just gave you the example, we had the good fortune of arguing a matter before the Kerala court sitting in our Delhi office. The Delhi High Court has also now allowed lawyers to appear virtually. This, of course, started during the COVID period, but the Delhi High Court has now decided to continue with this. So if for some reason you are unable to travel and appear physically in the court, you have an option of seeking court's permission to appear virtually as well. That's something I think it's a very good development. The technology has evolved. I have never in my lifetime, during the first 10, 12 years of my practice, thought that I would be able to appear before the court, wear a band, and appear before the court sitting in my house, from my study room in the house, or from my office. This is something, it's a very good development. Let's say if I have to appear before a court which is far from my city, which means if I have to travel, I'll only be able to attend that one matter for the whole day. If I have to appear and argue before a court in Bangalore, I would take an early morning flight around 5:30 in the morning, appear before the court at 10, 11, 12, and come back late in the evening, which means your whole day is consumed to attend one particular matter. But the situation has changed now. We have argued before the Karnataka High Court as well, sitting in a Delhi office. The Delhi High Court specifically, inspection of judicial records. What is the usual practice is you have to physically visit the inspection branch of the court, file an application, seek permission from the concerned registrar, and then you would be called on a specific date and time to physically inspect the judicial file. Now that has changed. The Delhi High Court has come up with a unique idea of allowing lawyers to inspect the file virtually. They have PDF files in their systems now. If you want to inspect something, file an application, the online request, and you would be given a date and time wherein you can log in the computer and inspect the judicial records. This is something I could never have thought 5 years down the line. And the firms these days, IP firms especially these days, they have started using a lot of softwares which help them keeping their dockets. Because IP is a subject wherein deadlines matters a lot. You have a registration for a trademark for a specific period of time. A trademark is registered at a time for 10 years. And you're supposed to file an application to renew it within that 10-year window. And then there is a 6-month time limit given to file application with a fine. If you miss that window, you miss the the registration is gone. Not only the registration, when you file an application, the registrar will raise objections and you have 30-day period to file your reply to that application. If you fail to file your reply within the deadline stipulated under the Trademarks Act, trademark rules, the application will be abandoned. So the firms these days have started using those softwares wherein you can keep a docket of all your deadlines. Not only deadlines, when the COVID forced all of us to work from our homes, obviously we didn't have files. But those softwares really helped us. I could read, see, open all files from the comfort of my home in my system. That's the advantage of technology. And I think it's going to help all the IP lawyers, the entire IP fraternity in general in the coming years.
So we now have a question related to the university. So the question is, what are the things that you love the most about HNLU? What are the things that you cherish to this day?
The university itself. I was fortunate enough to be a part of one of the prestigious universities. We didn't have the privilege of such a beautiful campus that you guys have these days. But as I told you, we used to cherish that as well. We only had a road to play cricket and a chair as the stumps. But the friendship that we had made, I call my batchmates as brothers and sisters for the rest of the life. The amazing faculties that have now been associated with us as mentors. I mean, that is something I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. And today, when I call myself as an alumnus of HNLU, it gives me a proud feeling. The university has evolved in these years. I passed out in 2009. So 14 years down the line, when I passed out, and today when I say that I'm a HNLU alumnus, people do recognize this as a very prestigious university. And all thanks to the current student and the current faculty that are working day and out to make this university as it is today. Because this is something that is going to be associated with us for the rest of our lives. And you are as good as your university is.
Sir, how important is networking for a lawyer? How does that help in the legal field?
Very important. It is very important, not only as far as your practice is concerned. It's very important to get to work for the firm. It's very important to be associated with your folks in the industry and be connected with your clients as well. Because as I told you earlier, it's not really about giving legal opinion, protecting your client in the court. It's about helping the business to grow. It's about how comfortable your client is with you. I always suggest all my colleagues to keep attending industry seminars, keep meeting people, be in touch with the clients, keep helping them and take their help. It is very important for me.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have another question. What are some of the most common intellectual property rights issues that businesses and individuals face in India?
The most problematic thing for Indian businesses, as I told you, is the awareness. Some of them are not even aware that they had to protect their brand. And vice versa, some of them were not even aware that they had to conduct a due diligence before starting a business. So let's say I take an example of someone who unintentionally started using a mark which was a registered trademark by someone else. Now, I have seen people coming to us and telling us, sir, I didn't know. It's not a mistake. I did not intend to use someone else's mark or infringe somebody else. But ignorance is not a defense in law. If you were not aware of somebody's right, that doesn't mean that you will be protected. You'll have to stop using that mark. So awareness is something that I think is still a problem. Plus, people do not keep a good record. Legal proceedings are all about producing evidences, proofs in the court, and giving records. So businesses usually do not keep a good record of their business. They few years down the line, people also did not had lawyers in the team. That is now changing. I have seen even small businesses getting lawyers on board and taking proper advice. So that's something I would suggest every business to keep in mind when coming up with any new business.
Sir, do you have any advice for the young lawyers who want to delve deeper into IP?
Keep reading, not only the law books, not only the commentaries, but especially the judgments. Judgments of good, uh, judgments of various high courts. Especially if you are interested in IP, keep reading judgments passed by the IP division of the Delhi High Court, Bombay High Court, and now the Chennai High Court. Not only read, visit courts, see established practitioners as to how they argue, inculcate those values, discuss with them as to how they prepare for the matters. That is all. It's very important to observe established practitioners. Keep reading, go through the PTC. PTC is something that is very important and it comes up every month. There's a journal that comes up every month that will have all the important decisions of India as far as IP is concerned. So keep reading, keep an eye on the general surrounding, discuss everything, discuss with your folks who are interested in the subject.
Sir, a very important issue that students and lawyers these days face is to maintain a balance between their work and their life. So how do you manage to do that? As a partner in Rahul Chaudhry and Partners, which is a very demanding job, how do you maintain a balance?
As I told you in the beginning, our profession is actually a very demanding profession. And especially if you are a litigating lawyer. Sometimes it requires very long working hours. There are deadlines, there are urgencies in the matters. The judges will ask you to file something in a particular day. But at the same time, I am actually a very strong supporter of maintaining a good work-life balance. Because if you have a healthier brain, a good body, you will, of course, excel in the profession. So for me, I maintain a very, very disciplined life these days. Get up early in the morning, give 1 hour to your exercise. Early morning, hit the gym, work out for an hour, come back, get fresh. And I hit office around 9:30 in the morning. Then, of course, the course started 10:30. Being a partner, I also spend some time with my team members in the evening. But maintaining discipline, whatever working hours you are giving to the office is very important. Staying closer to the office, save as much time as you can on traveling. Do not carry the work related stress to your home. That's a very important aspect because if you are out of the office, you're out of the office. Enjoy your time away from the office as well. So I have a 6-year-old daughter and I spend my time playing with her. We play football when I'm back from the office. That's a kind of stress buster for me. So you'll have to maintain and be disciplined when you are working in the office. Give as much time as possible and be concentrated on your work. But if you're out of the office, you're out of the office. And be punctual. Get up early in the morning. That is something that I would advise to all the young lawyers. Get up early in the morning, give some time to yourself, and then go and start working for the day. But at the same time, reading is also very important. For me, not the law books, any kind of reading. That a kind of stress buster for me. I'm very interested in reading legal what do you say, the stories of great lawyers. I've read that Fali Nariman's story, Arun Jaitley's story. Prashant Bhushan's story. So I keep reading them whenever I get time away from my office, and that really helps me, coming out of that mental stress.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have a question related to reading IP. So for reading IP, should we rely on standard textbooks or only judgments? What is the better way to move from standard books to judgments or from judgments to books?
Look, the best way is to first start reading the commentaries. There are very good commentaries on IP. The commentaries would give you a very good idea as far as the subject is concerned. Also, I would suggest my young friends who are interested in IP to read the acts, Trademark Act, Patent Act, GI Act, Copyright Act, Designs Act, and also the rules, because the rules will give you the technical perspective of the practice. Once you read the acts along with the commentaries, you will know the subject. And then I would suggest them to read the case laws, because case laws are very important. Case laws would give you the practical experience of how the matters are being argued and how the judges are construing those arguments, how is the law evolving. So commentaries plus acts and most important, case laws. These are the three things I would strongly recommend any of my young friend who is interested in this profession.
Sir, you had also mentioned networking as a very important aspect for lawyers. How important do you think is mentorship and proper guidance for an IP lawyer?
Not only for an IP lawyer, for every lawyer that is coming in this profession. Mentorship and guidance is the most important thing. And take it from me, reading the books and getting your degree from the university is one aspect, whereas getting into the profession is an entirely different thing. Because when you actually get into the profession, go to the court, it's an entirely different feeling. And when I started the profession back in 2009, when I was a young fresh graduate, freshly entered the profession, I actually did not had any idea as to how do I go to the court and how do I prepare myself, how do I argue in the court. So it is very important that you seek guidance from your mentors, from your seniors. Keep asking them questions, keep talking to them, inculcate the values, inculcate the way they prepare themselves for the matters, the way they form an opinion on a particular point. That is all very important, because these are all practical aspects that you will only start getting once you get in the profession. And a good senior and good mentor, especially during the formative years of your career, are very important.
Sir, we have another question related to the university. What advantages do you think the current batch of students have over the previous batches? Or are there any disadvantages that we face that the earlier batches did not?
I don't think there is any disadvantage that the current batch has as far as the earlier batches we were concerned. The reason being, obviously, the campus is one of the reasons. I would say the current batches are very fortunate enough to have one of the most beautiful campuses in the country to stay in. Infrastructure matters a lot, of course, but at the same time, alumni matters a lot for me. Because when I passed out from HNLU back in 2009, we only had two batches who had gone into the profession before us. Now, and when I saw the other law schools, NUJS, NLS Bangalore, NALSAR, they had good number of students from their university already working in all the major law firms in the country. And when you have an alumni from your own university, it gives you a feeling of being connected to the institution. When you have someone from your own university, you feel like, all right, a friend or a family member is already there to help me. So the current batches, when the university have now been, I think, almost 20-year old, and a lot of batches have already passed on. Fortunately, we have HNLU alumni almost in every part of the country now, being in law firms, being in corporate sector, even the teaching profession, even the the practicing advocates in almost all the high courts in the country, we have very good alumni of the university practicing in almost every field. So that is something I think it is very advantageous for the current batch of students, which of course we did not had back then because I belong to only the third batch of the university.
Sir, going down the memory lane, why did you choose law as a career? What fascinated you about being a lawyer?
I'll be very honest. When I passed out my 12th grade, I was not too interested in the subject. So I was a science student. Of course, as a normal science student would do, I thought I would also go for engineering. But somehow I was never interested in science and engineering. So I was looking for options. And my family back then suggested me that this is something which is evolving. And then I was introduced to law by my family. My grandfather was an officer with the government. He was in the government sector, and he had friends who were judges of the high courts. So he, took me and made me meet those people and made me understand as to how is it going to be if I get into law. Once I met those people, I also visited the district court in my city to understand as to how is it, because for a 12th pass out courts and law, I don't think he would have a very great idea about all that. But when I got in, when I visited, met those judges, I really got fascinated, and then I started preparing for my entrance exam, because back then we did not had CLAT. It was individual universities taking their individual examinations. So when I started even for preparing for the entrance exam and the law was introduced to me for the preparation as well, it really fascinated me. And I really thought, yes, this is something that I can do for the rest of my life.
That's great, sir. Sir, do you have any particular advice for the current batch of students with respect to the university and IP law or law in general?
Look, as I already told you, there's no shortcut to hard work. One should keep reading. One should keep. Keep reading the judgments. Be in touch with industry folks. Intern with good law firms. Be very focused as far as the interest is concerned, because now is the time when the lawyers are getting specialized in the fields. So during the final years of your course, I would suggest my friends to make their mind, take a decision as to what area of law they want to practice, and then keep focused, keep interning with the firms that you are interested in, keep reading. Keeping yourself updated with the latest developments in the field is very important. It's not only for IP, even for a tax lawyer, even for a competition lawyer or for a corporate lawyer. It's a everyday process. You have to keep yourself updated, otherwise you won't be able to advise your clients on the recent developments in the law.
Thank you so much, sir. This was a really informative session for us and also for the viewers. We sincerely thank you for joining us today. We are looking forward to interacting with you in future also. I, on behalf of the Alumni Affairs Committee, sincerely thank you for joining us today for this session, delving into IP laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Soumya, for giving me this platform. Thank you for giving me a sense of still being connected with the university. And it's always a pleasure to do anything and to be associated with your university anytime. It's a great pleasure, and I really had a very good time talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.